The topic of the video for today is working in user forms within Excel using Visual Basic. So just to give you a lay of the land of where we are right now, I've created a ActiveX button here. And when this ActiveX button is clicked, it launches a form. Okay. Theoretically, if this is clicked, there we go, it launches a form. Now this form is not done yet. We've already created a little bit of that in Visual Basic. So let me show you what we've done so far. So again, we've gone in, we've created an ActiveX command button here. We've put in the code to show that form, okay? And I can go back and show you some basics of form creation in another program. We then have it linked, so when it launches, it basically shows this form that was already created. So what we want to pick up today, we're not going to talk about creating the form. The form's already been created. Not going to talk about naming conventions. We've kind of touched on that already. We have a text box for first name entered in here, and we have a list box that are going to be a list of items that this bakery produces that we are going to pre-populate when this form initializes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How to fill a list box with items based on initialization. We're going to add a spin button with a control. So basically we can dictate the quantity, for example, of how much we would like. And then at the end, within this button here that's in the form, we're going to actually calculate a grand total. So we're picking up, and if you're following through the video, we assume that you know how to create a user form in Visual Basic, in the VBE, the Visual Basic Editor. You already know the basics of naming conventions. We're not covering that today. And the difference between a text box, a label, a list box. Okay, so that's where we're at. So let me go ahead and close this. We're going to go into the VBE and take a look. So here's our form that's already created. It's already been set up. We've used a good naming convention in order to create that. We've got the text box for first name, and we've got this list box. The challenge that we have with this is that the list box is going to have some items, right? So if this is a bakery, say the bakery sells cookies and a cake of some sort, okay? So we've got different items that you can select and different prices that go along with those items. So if we want our customer to have a pre-populated list of things inside this list box, in order to do that, we have to have it actually load when the form loads, when you click button. So notice I've called this LSB items here. Okay, so LSB for like list box items. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the form, we're going to go to view code, and you notice we have it by default as user form on click. We actually don't want that as the option. What we want is on load, on initialize. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to load, I'm just going to add a couple items here, load items into list box. Like so, just to add a comment and do some good code. So what we are going to do is we are going to go LST items dot, make sure we spelled this right. Better go back and double check just to make sure we've got the right name here. So we're going to jump in our form. And this is called LSB items, for a list box. And you see I was typing LST. So let me go back into my VBE here, go back into my code, and it actually is LSB items, add item, and we're just going to go ahead and add those in. So now what this does, this method here, the add item, is whatever I put in double quotes here is what's going to actually be added to our box. So we'll just say one of my favorites, right? The old Bunt cake. And then we'll go LSB items, and we'll go, I don't know, chocolate chip cookie. And then we'll go LSB items, add item, I don't know, oatmeal cookie. Bet I better spell cookie right. Okay. So what did we do here? Basically what we're doing, we've named and an easy way to think of this is that Visual Basic is an object method programming language. So we've got the object of the LSB items list box, and we're using the method of add item. And then all we're doing is, in double quotes here, we are placing each item that we would like to add. So now we're doing that on the initialize of the form. So when this actually runs, let's save, go back in. All of a sudden, we've got things in our box. Now, this list box is too small for chocolate chip cookie. No big deal. we can jump back in and we can resize as we need to make sure there's enough space. And now when we run it, doop, there we go. We've got them: bundt cake, chocolate chip cookie, and oatmeal cookie. Very, very good. All right. So next thing we're going to need to do here is we want to add a label in a spin box. So that's actually going to be 3 different things to pull this off. That basically, when the customer selects something from this list here, they're going to be able to click a little spin box, and that spin box is going to indicate the number, the quantity that they want. So that's a 3-part process to get that to happen. So first thing we need is we need our toolbox, which we don't have. So we're going to go to View, and we're going to grab our toolbox. Okay, it's our nifty toolbox here for Visual Basic. So from there, what we want to do is we'll start with just adding a label. And now remember, this label has 2 different things. It's got the name of the object, and then it's got the actual caption. So the object name is going to be LBL quantity. And then the caption will be just quantity. Okay. And you can adjust this as you see fit. I've never been real good with coming up with aesthetically pleasing forms, but we're going to make this thing work. So now the next thing we're going to need is an actual text box. Now that text box is going to contain the numerical value from the spin button that we're going to put in. So we need a text box. We're going to put that in. Okay. And for that text box, we're going to give that the name TXT quantity. Okay. Now, what we could do here is just leave this, and the customer could just literally type in however many they want. But if you have ever purchased something online, you're pretty familiar with the spin button object, right? So when I put this thing in, it gives me the ability to click up and down, right? So click, 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 and that's going up and up and up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever that would be, down and up. So now it's not as easy as just putting these in, because as of right now, there's nothing in the code that says that this spin button controls this text box. So now what we're going to do is first go in and give this an actual name. Okay, the actual name is going to be SPN, and we'll call it quantity. Okay, and what we're going to want to do next is we're going to actually have to go into the code of this thing. Okay. And for the code of that spin button that we just created, and we'll go in and document. So we'll say attach to text box. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that the TXT quantity value is going to be the SPN, oops, lowercase, SPN quantity value. So basically, whatever this spin button is doing is going to control what's happening here. Okay, and I need to go back and double check that I have the capitalizations correctly here, because I have a capital S here, lowercase s there. Just in general, that's bad form. So we'll jump back in. We'll take a look. Hey, look at that. So it's working. That's a good sign. Okay. Now, that being said, let's jump out of here. We'll jump back in. It is, we'll click here. Bad form to do this, so I'm going to change that capital S to a lowercase s, just so we stay true to our naming conventions. And we'll double check our code. Our code will go in and switch this to a lower s and a lower s, just so we stay true. Save, and we'll test. Things are looking good. We're one step closer to getting our chocolate chip cookies. So at this point, I'm actually going to stop this video and restart with the next section, which will be making this command button sing. Okay, so when we click this command button, it's going to look at some pricing based on these 3 things. It's then going to look at the quantity like so, and then it's going to tell us what our grand total is and spit that out somewhere either on our sheet here, maybe we'll add a total here, or in a message box. So for now, we're going to stop this. Quick overview of what we did. We added list items to our box here, and we added a spin button that controls a text box. So 2 different user form controls that we've added here. And when we come back in the second part of this video, we'll take this command button and we'll make this thing calculate a grand total. So that is it for now. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back